YandR spoilers. 3 reasons why Noah and Sienna do not work. The Young and the Restless, YandR. Spoilers indicate that many fans are struggling with the front burner, out of nowhere, relationship between lovers Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, and Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun relationship. Both actors are slaying it as a recast Noah and a body bar owner, but just not together. Let's unpack what's going on in the fandom and on the screen and tell us if you agree. Noah and Sienna are different. Let's start with the primary reason some fans are finding it challenging to see Noah and Sienna make out. It's because they played son and mother on the Peacock show Days of Our Lives. Yes, this is TV land and not reality we are talking about. But appearances matter. To that end, a slew of fans can't get over seeing Adams as the former Trip Johnson, the son of his loving mother Ava Vitale as played by Braun. When we see them on screen loving now, it is jarring. The books look different. We agree that you can't judge a book by its cover, but some fans do not see the riz between saucy cougar Sienna and Schick's baby son. Noah is rumored to have gained an edgier personality with the recast, but there are some fans who will always see him as a sweet young man raised in the heartland who left GC with his sweet young girlfriend, Aling Gwyn, Kelsey Wong, to make a name for himself. Years later we see what he's accomplished, cheating on Allie with a bedazzled bodega runner. The fallout. Noah is not pleasing his parents nor many fans by hooking up with Sienna, but there's another person in GC who won't like this relationship, Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman. And that is significant because the Abbotts and the Newmans are at war. Jack won't like a Newman dumping his granddaughter, and this could add fuel to the bonfire. Right now Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, is focused on taking down Arabesque, but the time will come when he turns his attention to Jabot and Jack will fight back. Tell us YandR fans, what do you think of new Noah and Sienna? Do you cringe or condone this relationship? Be sure to catch up on everything happening with the Young and the Restless right now. Come back here often for the hottest YandR updates, news and spoilers. Get comfortable and gain access to the best soap intel on the web. In Genoa City, love stories are rarely simple, but some pairings are doomed from the very first glance. Noah Newman and Sienna may look intriguing on paper, but once you peel back the layers, the cracks in their connection are impossible to ignore. What started as curiosity and comfort quickly spirals into mistrust, emotional imbalance, and unresolved baggage that threatens to destroy them both. Here's why, in true Young and the Restless fashion, Noah and Sienna are a ticking time bomb rather than a lasting romance. 1. Noah is still haunted by his past. Noah Newman has tried to reinvent himself more times than he can count. From leaving Genoa City to escape the Newman shadow, to returning with new ambitions and a quieter demeanor, Noah carries emotional scars that never fully healed. His past relationships, especially the ones that ended painfully, have taught him to guard his heart. Sienna, however, mistakes Noah's emotional distance for mystery rather than damage. She believes patience will fix what therapy and time haven't. But Noah isn't ready to fully open up, and every time Sienna pushes for more intimacy or clarity, he retreats. A relationship can't survive when one person is still living in yesterday's heartbreak. 2. Sienna thrives on secrets, and Noah despises them. If there's one thing Noah Newman cannot tolerate, it's dishonesty. Growing up in the Newman family taught him that secrets are weapons, not shields. Sienna, on the other hand, treats secrets like currency. She reveals only what benefits her in the moment, carefully controlling the narrative of her life. At first, Noah finds Sienna intriguing. She's not an open book, and that feels refreshing. But curiosity quickly turns to suspicion. Who is Sienna really? Why does her story change depending on who's asking? And what exactly is she hiding? For Noah, love requires transparency. For Sienna, power comes from withholding. That fundamental difference alone makes their relationship unsustainable. 3. They want opposite futures. Noah wants stability. Not the kind that traps him in his father's empire, but something grounded, creative fulfillment, emotional safety, and a life that doesn't revolve around constant chaos. He dreams of building something meaningful on his own terms. Sienna wants momentum. She thrives on ambition, risk, and social elevation. Genoa City isn't just a place to live for her, it's a ladder to climb. She wants access, influence, and proximity to power, and Noah's last name is a tempting asset whether she admits it or not. Every conversation about the future ends in vague promises because neither wants to say the truth out loud. They are heading in completely different directions. 4. Sienna competes with Noah instead of supporting him. One of the most alarming dynamics between Noah and Sienna is the subtle competition. Instead of celebrating Noah's successes, Sienna measures them against her own. If Noah takes a step forward, she feels the need to take two. Noah notices it in small moments, backhanded compliments, dismissive jokes, moments where Sienna redirects attention back to herself. What should be a partnership feels more like a rivalry. Over time, Noah begins to shrink himself to avoid conflict, and resentment quietly builds. A relationship where one partner feels diminished is never built to last. 5. Noah values family. Sienna exploits it. Noah's relationship with the Newman family is complicated, but it's still deeply important to him. Despite the drama, betrayals, and power plays, family loyalty matters. Sienna sees the Newmans differently. To her, they're not people, they're opportunities. She studies dynamics, listens more than she speaks, and inserts herself strategically. While she claims she's just trying to fit in, it becomes clear that Sienna is more interested in leveraging connections than forming genuine bonds. When Noah realizes Sienna discusses private family matters as casual conversation elsewhere, it's a betrayal he can't unsee. 6. Their communication is built on assumptions. Every major argument between Noah and Sienna follows the same pattern: misinterpretation, defensiveness, and silence. Instead of asking questions, they assume motives. Instead of resolving issues, they let them fester. Noah withdraws when he's hurt. Sienna confronts aggressively when she feels threatened. Those styles clash catastrophically. Neither feels heard, and both leave conversations more frustrated than before. Love requires emotional safety, and with them, every conversation feels like walking through a minefield. 7. Sienna brings out Noah's worst instincts. Noah has spent years trying to step away from manipulation, emotional games, and power struggles. With Sienna, those instincts resurface. He becomes suspicious, reactive, and emotionally guarded. Instead of growing into the best version of himself, Noah feels like he's regressing, becoming someone he doesn't like. That realization is devastating. When love costs you your sense of self, it's no longer love, it's a warning sign. 8. Trust is already broken, and it can't together in the way glossy magazines love, his quiet intensity, her effortless confidence. When they walked into society side by side, heads turned. People whispered. Genoa City assumed they were inevitable. After all, Newmans didn't fall for ordinary people, and Sienna certainly wasn't ordinary. But chemistry, as Noah was learning, wasn't the same as compatibility. Noah had always been the outlier in his family. The Newman who felt too deeply, who carried guilt like a second skin, who tried to live outside the shadow of his father's ruthless empire. He wanted peace, stability, a life that didn't require constant armor. Music had saved him once, pulling him back from the edge when grief nearly swallowed him whole. He believed in rebuilding, in second chances, in doing better than the generation before him. Sienna believed in winning. She believed in momentum, power, and never letting an opportunity pass by just because it made someone uncomfortable. She didn't see moral gray areas the way Noah did. To her, the world was divided into those who took control and those who were controlled. And she had sworn long ago she would never be the latter again. That difference had been invisible at first, hidden beneath late-night laughter, stolen kisses, and whispered dreams about the future. But cracks always reveal themselves eventually. It started small. Noah noticed the way Sienna dismissed people who didn't matter to her. A bartender who got an order wrong. A colleague who hesitated during a pitch meeting. She smiled through it, but there was always an edge, a quiet calculation behind her eyes. Noah brushed it off, telling himself everyone had flaws. Then came the secrets. Sienna was vague about her past, careful with details. Noah, raised in a family where secrets detonated lives, felt the unease settle in his chest. He asked gentle questions. She deflected with charm. When he pressed harder, she accused him of mistrust. "You Newmans are all the same," she'd said once, her voice light but her eyes sharp. "Always assuming there's something ugly underneath." The words stung because Noah feared they might be true. Not about her, but about himself. He didn't want to be suspicious. He wanted to trust. But trust wasn't something Sienna valued the same way. For Noah, trust was sacred. For Sienna, it was leverage. The breaking point came on a night that should have been simple. A charity event. A few donors. A public appearance. Noah expected small talk and smiles. What he didn't expect was to overhear Sienna in the hallway, her voice low, confident, cold. "Let Victor think it was his idea," she said into her phone. "If Noah finds out, I'll handle him." Noah froze. Handle him. In that moment, something shifted. Not shattered. Not yet, but cracked beyond repair. When he confronted her later, Sienna didn't deny it. She didn't apologize either. She explained. "This is how the world works," she told him calmly. "Your family understands that. I thought you did too." Noah stared at her, realizing how wrong she was. "I don't want to manipulate people," he said. "Especially not my family. Especially not you manipulating me." She laughed softly, shaking her head. "You think you're different from them, but you're still a Newman. You just don't want to admit it." And that was the real divide. Noah wanted to be better. Sienna wanted to be powerful. Where Noah sought honesty, Sienna preferred strategy. Where he wanted emotional safety, she thrived on risk. He believed love meant protecting each other from becoming something ugly. She believed love meant pushing each other toward success, no matter the cost. They loved each other, yes. But love alone couldn't bridge that gap. Their arguments grew sharper after that. Noah withdrew. Sienna grew frustrated. She accused him of weakness. He accused her of losing her humanity. Every fight ended the same way. No resolution, just exhaustion. One night, Noah sat alone at the piano, playing softly in the dark. Music had always told him the truth before his mind caught up. The notes felt heavy, mournful, final. He stopped mid-song, realizing what his heart already knew. He loved Sienna, but he didn't recognize himself with her. When he told her it was over, Sienna didn't cry. She looked at him for a long moment, studying him the way she always studied people. And then she smiled, sad, sharp, resigned. "You'll regret this," she said. "People like me don't come around often." Maybe she was right. But as she walked away, Noah felt something he hadn't felt in months, relief. Because being different didn't mean being wrong. Noah would always choose conscience over control, healing over ambition, truth over advantage. Sienna would always chase the next win, the next edge, the next move. They weren't villains or heroes. They were simply incompatible. And sometimes the hardest lesson love teaches isn't how to hold on, but how to let go before you lose yourself. The library had always been quiet in that particular way that felt heavier than silence. Like the air itself had agreed not to move. Rows of books stretched from floor to ceiling, their spines faded by decades of borrowed hands and half-forgotten curiosity. The same titles sat in the same places year after year, unchanged, dependable, and dull in their familiarity. Until one morning they looked different. Mara was the first to feel it, though she couldn't have explained why. She had worked at the library long enough to know its rhythms. The soft hum of the heater, the creak of the third floor near the history section, the faint smell of old paper and lemon polish. But as she unlocked the doors that morning, something tugged at her attention, like a word stuck on the tip of her tongue. She walked past the fiction shelves and stopped. The books were the same, but not. The covers shimmered faintly, as if the light lingered on them longer than it should. Colors seemed deeper, shadows richer. A paperback she'd shelved 100 times now looked as though it had weight beyond paper, as though it carried a secret it was finally ready to tell. Mara frowned and reached out, brushing her fingers against the spine of a novel she'd read years ago and forgotten just as quickly. The moment she touched it, the shimmer faded. The book looked normal again. She pulled her hand back, heart thudding. "Get a grip," she muttered, blaming the early hour, the lack of sleep, the monotony of routine. But the feeling didn't leave. By midday, others noticed too. A college student squinted at a stack of books, as if his vision had gone blurry. An elderly man held a biography at arm's length, then close again, shaking his head. Even the children in the reading corner grew uncharacteristically quiet, staring at the shelves instead of pulling books down and scattering them across the floor. "They look louder," one little girl whispered. Mara overheard and felt a chill crawl up her spine. That afternoon, she finally allowed herself to test the thing she'd been avoiding. When the library emptied for lunch, she walked back to the fiction section and stood alone with the shelves. The shimmer was back, subtle but undeniable, as if the books were breathing in unison. She picked one up. This time the world shifted. The library dissolved into color and sound. Wind rushed past her ears. She smelled smoke and rain, and something sharp like fear. When her vision cleared, she was standing in a forest, moonlight slicing through tall, blackened trees. Footsteps echoed behind her, someone running, desperate and breathless. Mara gasped and dropped the book. She was back in the library, knees weak, the novel lying harmlessly at her feet. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against her chest. "It's not possible," she whispered. Yet the echo of the forest lingered. The fear wasn't hers, but she'd felt it. Over the next few days, the truth revealed itself slowly, carefully, as though the books feared being mishandled. Anyone who touched a book with focus, real attention was pulled inside. Not as a reader imagining the story, but as a witness standing within it. You could see the world, hear the voices, feel the weight of choices pressing down on characters who had never been more than ink before. Some people panicked. A man stormed out, swearing he'd never set foot in the library again. A mother clutched her child and demanded explanations no one could give. But others stayed. They returned day after day, eyes bright, hands trembling with anticipation. The books didn't change the stories. They revealed them. Mara began to understand the difference. Before, people skimmed pages, skipped descriptions, rushed endings. They consumed stories like fast food, quick, forgettable, easy. Now the books demanded presence. You couldn't enter a story without feeling it. You couldn't witness a heartbreak without carrying its weight back with you. The books looked different because they were being seen differently. Late one evening, after the library had closed, Mara sat alone at the circulation desk with a single book open in front of her. She had chosen it deliberately. A quiet novel about an ordinary woman making ordinary mistakes. No epic battles. No magic forests. Just life. When she touched the page, the shift was gentle. She stood in a small kitchen, sunlight filtering through thin curtains. A woman at the table stared at a cup of coffee gone cold, her hands wrapped around it like an anchor. The air was thick with regret, unspoken words, missed chances, love almost given but withheld. Mara's throat tightened. She didn't want to escape. She wanted to understand. When she returned to the library, tears blurred her vision. She wiped them away, surprised at herself. The book lay open, its pages ordinary again, but something inside her had changed. News spread quickly. Scholars arrived with theories. Scientists brought instruments that recorded nothing unusual. Religious leaders argued over miracles and warnings. The town council debated shutting the library down. But the books remained. One night, as Mara reshelved returns, she noticed something else. Some books didn't shimmer at all. Their covers looked flat, their presence thin, like echoes of something unfinished. She opened one and felt nothing. No wind. No voices. No world waiting. She understood then. Not every book held truth. Some were written to sell, to distract, to fill space. Others were written because someone had something they needed to say, something honest, painful, alive. Those were the ones that changed. On the final day before the council's vote, the library overflowed. People stood between shelves, hands resting lightly on spines, as if touching something sacred. No one spoke above a whisper. Mara took her place near the entrance, watching. The books no longer shimmered constantly. They waited. They looked different because the readers were different now. Slower, braver, willing to feel. The stories hadn't changed. The world had simply remembered how to listen. As the sun set, light spilled through the tall windows, gilding the shelves in gold. For the first time in a long while, Mara felt certain spoilers. Wednesday, November 26th. Scary secrets, family is everything, Thanksgiving return. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday, November 26th, hint at some major moments in Genoa City, as families gather to celebrate Thanksgiving. Someone keeps a scary secret from a loved one, while another reminds loved ones about the importance of family. Plus, there's a major character return for the holiday. What's on the horizon for Wednesday's show? Time to find out. Make sure to check out our weekly YandR spoilers here. Victor Newman's Secrets. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday, November 26th, suggest that Victor Newman, Eric Braeden, will keep Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, in the dark about what's going on in Los Angeles. Of course, Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, has gone missing while Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, and Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, are on the hunt for their son and inching closer to his rescue. The mustache likely doesn't want his wife to worry on Thanksgiving, but will Nikki realize something is wrong when she doesn't hear back from Nick? She tried to reach out to him on the Tuesday, November 25th show, and was puzzled as to why he wasn't returning her call. Lily Winters reflects. It sounds like the Winters family will gather for Thanksgiving, which will be a time for them to bond and reflect. YandR teasers imply that Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, will remind her loved ones about the importance of family. Losing both Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers, and Chance Chancellor Connor Floyd, this year, two characters who have close ties to the family, this may weigh heavily on Lily's mind, so it's good that she'll have those closest to her surrounding her during this important holiday. Ashley Abbott returns. Speaking of the importance of family, The Young and the Restless spoilers for Wednesday note that Ashley Abbott will officially return to celebrate Thanksgiving with the Abbotts, as Eileen Davidson reprises the role. It'll be nice to see Ashley again, bonding with her loved ones, But will this also kick off a new storyline for the major YandR character? What's Ashley been up to since she's been away from GC? What storyline are you most looking forward to during Wednesday's show? Wednesday's episode of The Young and the Restless leans hard into the emotional core that has kept Genoa City ticking for decades. Secrets that rot from the inside out, families that fracture and reunite in the same breath, and a Thanksgiving return that threatens to upend everything just as characters dare to believe in peace. Gratitude may be the theme of the holiday, but make no mistake, this Wednesday is stuffed with tension, regret, and revelations that could change lives. Scary secrets come screaming to the surface. The hour opens with an unmistakable sense of dread. A secret long buried, carefully protected by lies, half-truths, and convenient silences, finally begins to claw its way into the light. The kind of secret that doesn't just ruin reputations, but rewrites family histories. At the center of the storm is Michael Baldwin, whose conscience has been whispering to him for weeks and is now flat out screaming. Michael has always prided himself on being the smartest man in the room, the one who can maneuver through legal gray areas without losing his soul. But Wednesday forces him to confront an ugly truth. Some secrets can't be controlled, and some protections come at too high a cost. Michael's dilemma isn't just professional, it's painfully personal. The more he tries to contain the damage, the clearer it becomes that someone he loves will be devastated when the truth comes out. His fear isn't about being exposed, it's about becoming the villain in someone else's story. When a seemingly harmless comment lands like a loaded weapon, Michael realizes the clock has officially run out. Meanwhile, Lauren Fenmore senses the shift. She knows her husband well enough to recognize the signs. The distracted glances, the tight jaw, the way he deflects when she asks simple questions. Lauren has survived enough storms to know that secrets never stay secret in Genoa City. And when she pushes for honesty, Michael must decide whether telling the truth will save his marriage or destroy it. Family is everything. Until it isn't. Elsewhere, the Abbott family prepares for Thanksgiving with the kind of forced cheer that screams trouble ahead. Jack Abbott insists that this year will be different. A reset, a chance to put grudges aside and remember what really matters. Family is everything, he declares, with the conviction of a man who desperately wants to believe it. But Jack's optimism is tested when old resentments resurface around the dinner table. Billy Abbott, never one to let sleeping dogs lie, brings an edge to the gathering that has nothing to do with turkey carving. He's tired of pretending, tired of playing the role of the screw-up son while everyone else plays saint. And when Billy feels judged, especially by Jack, he pushes back hard. The tension escalates when Kyle Abbott finds himself caught in the middle. Kyle wants peace, but peace requires honesty, and honesty has never been the Abbott family's strong suit. A casual remark turns into a pointed accusation, and suddenly Thanksgiving feels less like a celebration and more like a reckoning. Across town, the Newman family faces its own test of loyalty. Nikki Newman, still fiercely protective of her sobriety and her family, clings to the ritual of Thanksgiving as an anchor. She believes that gathering everyone together, even the ones who don't want to be in the same room, will remind them of what they're fighting for. Victor Newman, however, knows better. He understands that family is power, but power comes with sacrifices. As Nikki focuses on gratitude, Victor quietly prepares for fallout. He's made moves in the shadows, decisions he believes are necessary to protect the Newman empire. But those choices may come back to haunt him when emotions run high. When Victoria and Nick clash over what's best for the family, it becomes clear that family is everything means something different to each of them. For Victoria, it's about control and legacy. For Nick, it's about honesty and emotional survival. The question is whether there's room for both at the same table. A Thanksgiving return no one saw coming. Just when the town settles into the rhythm of tradition, Wednesday delivers its biggest shock. A Thanksgiving return that no one saw coming, and few are ready for. The arrival is quiet at first. No dramatic announcement. No grand entrance. Just a familiar face standing in a doorway, carrying the weight of unfinished business and unresolved pain. The reaction is immediate and visceral. Gasps are swallowed. Forks freeze midair. Conversations die in an instant. This return isn't about nostalgia, it's about consequences. For some, this person represents a second chance. For others, they're a walking reminder of betrayal, heartbreak, and choices that can't be undone. One character, in particular, is shaken to their core, forced to confront feelings they thought they'd buried along with last year's regrets. The timing couldn't be worse, or more perfect. Thanksgiving has a way of stripping people down to their emotional bones, and this return ensures that no one gets to hide behind polite smiles or small talk. Apologies are demanded. Explanations are expected. And forgiveness? That's far sat alone in his sprawling office at Newman Enterprises, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows across the mahogany desk. The city beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows buzzed with its usual chaos, but Victor remained unmoved. To anyone watching, he was the epitome of power, the king of Genoa City, untouchable, untarnished, and untamed. But behind the walls of his empire, Victor carried secrets. Secrets that could shake the foundations of everything he had built. The first secret was one he had buried long ago, carefully hidden from even those closest to him. As a young man, desperate and ambitious, Victor had made choices he would never admit to, choices that clawed at his conscience even now. There were nights when the memories haunted him. The faces of men and women he had crossed, the deals that had turned deadly, and the whispers of betrayal he had ignored. These were not the public battles he fought in boardrooms or courtrooms. No, these were battles fought in the shadows, where victory came at a cost no amount of wealth could erase. Victor's second secret was of the heart. While the world saw him as ruthless and unyielding, there were moments when he was deeply vulnerable. He loved fiercely, sometimes recklessly, and yet his love was often his weakness. He had loved women who had slipped through his fingers, lost sons he could not protect, and trusted allies who had turned against him. Each heartbreak was carefully compartmentalized, each betrayal filed away in the vaults of his mind. But love had a way of creeping in where you least expected it, and Victor knew that some of his decisions, particularly those involving his children, were motivated by a fear of loss more than ambition. Then there was the secret that had recently resurfaced, a matter involving Adam, his prodigal son. Victor had always believed he was untouchable, even by family. But Adam had a way of unraveling truths that others could never reach. Over the years, Victor had manipulated, schemed, and even broken the law to protect his empire. Some of these actions had indirectly harmed Adam, though Victor would never admit it aloud. He carried a quiet guilt, a gnawing awareness that his pursuit of power sometimes blinded him to the consequences his family would bear. And now, Adam's probing questions and silent accusations were reopening wounds Victor had hoped were forever sealed. As Victor poured himself a glass of scotch, he thought of Nikki. Nikki, who knew more of his heart than anyone else. Yet she too did not fully understand the man he had once been, or the man he had become. Their love was a battlefield of its own, filled with compromises, betrayals, and reconciliations. Nikki had always seen the best in Victor, and it was her unwavering belief in him that had saved him from the abyss more than once. And yet, Victor feared that the secrets he still held, the ones not even she could fathom, might someday drive a wedge between them that no charm or apology could repair. The most dangerous secret of all, however, was one he had never shared with anyone. The truth about his greatest enemy, a rival whose existence had remained in the shadows for decades. Victor had faced many adversaries over the years, men and women who wanted his empire, his power, even his life. But this one, a figure only he knew, had the knowledge to destroy him completely. A single revelation could undo Newman Enterprises, dismantle the legacy he had built brick by brick, and expose the man behind the mask of invincibility. That knowledge gave Victor sleepless nights, a rare crack in his armor of control. Yet, for all his secrets, Victor remained the master of appearances. To the public, he was always composed, unflinching, and decisive. Every deal he made, every maneuver he orchestrated, was executed with precision. But behind closed doors, he was human, flawed, and sometimes terrified. He understood the precarious balance of power. That one misstep, one unguarded moment, could unravel decades of strategy. And so Victor Newman kept his secrets close, like gold hidden in a vault, accessible only to himself. But secrets have a way of surfacing, no matter how carefully they are buried. Recently, Victor had sensed the stirrings of the past creeping into the present. Conversations he overheard, documents that seemed out of place, the subtle looks exchanged between those around him, all hinted at a truth inching closer to exposure. Victor, ever the strategist, knew he had to act preemptively. He could manipulate the narrative, redirect suspicion, or even sacrifice something to protect what he held dear. But every move carried risk. Every decision could backfire. And yet, Victor had never been one to shy away from risk. It was his lifeblood, the pulse that had carried him from a scrappy young man to the king of Genoa City. Tonight, as he stared out the window, the city lights beginning to twinkle like distant stars, Victor made a silent promise. He would protect his secrets at all costs, not just for himself but for his family, his empire, and the legacy of the Newman name. There was a storm on the horizon, subtle yet inevitable, and Victor knew it would take every ounce of cunning, every shard of resolve to weather it. The stakes were higher than ever, and the consequences of failure unimaginable. Yet he remained unshaken. Victor Newman thrived in chaos. It was where he belonged. In the end, Victor understood a profound truth. Secrets were not just burdens, they were weapons. They could destroy or protect, liberate or enslave. And as long as he held them, he controlled the fate of those around him. That control was his power, his legacy, and his curse. And though the world might never truly know the depths of Victor Newman's secrets, he would ensure that their impact was felt, shaping the lives of Genoa City's residents in ways subtle and profound. Victor poured another scotch and raised the glass to the reflection staring back at him in the darkened window. A toast, perhaps, to the man who bore the weight of truths too heavy for anyone else to carry. A man whose secrets defined him, yet did not break him. In the shadows of his empire, Victor Newman smiled, knowing that for all the storms that might come, he would remain standing, untouchable and unmatched.